Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay, a podcast focusing on meditation, the near-death experience, and all things spiritual. Hello, this is Jay Spillers from Inspire Me with Jay. My guest today is Martin PIGG. Martin, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jay. Good to be with you.
So, what is it that you do? Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm an author, a speaker, and a coach in the personal development arena. And my major focus is helping people find and live their purpose in life. And I have just as a side note, for fun, just to let people know, I kind of tease this on the intros. I say for fun, I fly airplanes, lift weights, and occasionally wear a speedo on stage. I am a competitive bodybuilder, so I have about 2.5 weeks out from my next competition. So right now I'm very low on carbs and just trying to get my brain to function normally, which is interesting because the brain needs carbs to be able to function. So I'm just focused and wanted to talk to your folks today. I'm happy to be here. And basically, what I do is I have a framework that I've used and worked with clients on to help them find and live their purpose in life, and it's called the PIGG Principle. So basically, I'm in the middle of writing a book about it. I go out and I speak to audiences about it, and it's really this idea that every one of us has a purpose in life, and our most important mission while we're breathing is to find out what that purpose is and then go out and live it.
So, how do you find audiences? Do you just look around and say you're willing to speak, or do they find you usually?
Well, I usually because I'm pretty I'm pretty out in I'm out and exposed. A lot of people know who I am. I have contacts with a lot of different groups, and my message is pretty unique. And so I think with social media and do a lot of stuff on social media and just word of mouth types of things. People hear me speak and they refer me to other friends and people who maybe event coordinators, people like that who have opportunity to speak. And there's personal development is a multi-billion-dollar business annually, and so there are a lot of events, a lot of opportunities to collaborate with people and in their events, and you speak in their events, they speak in yours. So it's just a matter of getting your name out there. So that's what I do.
Have you ever wanted to learn to meditate? Check out my book, Meditation for Everyone: How to Quickly Have a More Peaceful, Mindful, and Fulfilled Life, and support this channel. With Meditation for Everyone, you will learn to quickly and easily meditate, relieve stress and anxiety, alleviate depression, and have more joy, peace, and relaxation. What you will learn: mindfulness, the art of stillness, step by step on how to meditate, strategies for overcoming challenges to meditation, and much more. D. Mason said this is a nice meditation book, even for those already meditating. I agree with the statements that it will help to have a more peaceful, mindful, and fulfilled life. 4.6-star rating, available on Amazon. And you have an interesting acronym with the word PIGG that is very easy to remember. Why don't you tell the audience about your acronym PIGG?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because everything that I do when I write and I speak is around what I call the PIGG principle. And there are just to state it, a matter of fact, the PIGG principle is when you pursue your passion with intention and gratitude, your passion will either become your purpose or lead you to it. And when you live with grace, you help other people find and live their purpose in life. And so the PIGG, the acronym, are the four energies in the principle, which stand for passion, intention, gratitude, and grace. And if I break that down for you, each of the energies has specific characteristics as it applies to finding and living your purpose in life. When I talk about passion, what I'm referring to is finding the one thing that inspires you above all other things. So that's passion. And so with intention, intention is the energy of what you do and who you connect to. And why that's important is you can have a passion all day for something, but if you're not intentional about pursuing it, then you won't ever make it happen. So intention and passion work together. Now, gratitude, the third letter, is gratitude for your journey and your blessings along the way. We have to be good, bad, or indifferent. We have to be grateful for whatever experiences we've had because they've taught us lessons that have the potential to make us who better than who we were before. So with gratitude, it's the blessings for the journey and your and what you've received along the way. And then grace would be the final component of this. And why grace is important to a purpose. And let me just go back to this for a moment, Jay. In order to have a purpose, a true purpose in life, this idea that you have a mission to accomplish on the earth while you're alive, a reason for being here, to be a real purpose in life, it has to meet at least three criteria. You need to be passionate about it. It needs to cause you to grow. And then you need to make a difference in the world. So the passion, intention, gratitude are the part where you're finding and living your purpose. The grace part of it is how you make a contribution to the world, because the grace part of it, and if you break that particular energy down, grace is love for yourself and others, humility equal to your blessings, and generosity in the offering of your time, talents, and network to help other people find and live their purpose in life. So it's this idea that you have a purpose that you're pursuing, that you're passionate about, and you're also making a contribution to the world to help other people find and live their purpose. And so that's the PIGG principle in a nutshell. And those are the four energies: passion, intention, gratitude, and grace.
So a lot of times people will have a passion and they'll try to put out intention to do different things, but it seems like the results are small, that they're just not reaching a lot of people. Is there like a secret to doing it? Is it just sort of, taking time? Is it going to just take time to build, or there are certain things you need to do to really get the impact you want?
Well, the thing about it is with the kind of passion that has the energy to become your purpose or lead you to your purpose, it has to resonate with the core of who you are and your being. For example, when I found my purpose as an author through flying airplanes, and that's why I even today still do airplanes. And how that worked was, I'll just give you a brief story to illustrate the point and to answer your question. I was on a Caribbean cruise a number of years ago, and the ship docked in St. Martin, and I had the opportunity for the first time to try parasailing. So there I was over Orient Bay in the Caribbean, floating along in the sky, feeling connected to God or this universe or something spiritual. There was a very spiritual connection to that, being there floating like that. And so I had this, what I call God wink. Squire Rushnell wrote a book called When God Winks. And it's these aha moments that you get, these inspirational moments that flash into your brain, that if you listen to them, they can lead you in the direction you need to go to fulfill your life's purpose. And so for me, as I'm floating along in the Caribbean, it occurred to me in my brain, if you love this so much, why don't you try to fly an airplane? I'd never thought about flying before. So when I got back to Baltimore, I was living in Baltimore at the time. I found a friend who had a son who was a pilot, and I arranged to go out for my first time in a small airplane with this man who Alan, who took me up in the airplane, and we were flying around. And suddenly he said to me, "Martin, do you want to take control of the airplane?" I was so excited when that happened. And sure, I'd never done that before. And Jay, the moment I put my hand on the yoke to fly the airplane, it was like this incredible experience in me. Something just connected with me. And I knew in that moment that my life had changed. And so what happened was, after that experience, I went the next day and I signed up for flight lessons and I pursued that passion with intention. And I ended up getting a couple of different pilot licenses, some instrument rating, a multi-engine rating, all kinds of stuff. I was pursuing that passion, which became my greatest passion. I was just obsessed with it. So when I pursued that and I got really good at it, I got confident. And the confidence started when I was first a student and learning how to fly and doing my first solo landing. And so after I did my first solo landing, after about 15 hours of instruction, the moment that airplane touched the ground, and I was the only one in the airplane that could bring it down safely, something in me switched and I said, if I can do this, I can do anything. So it's this idea that you're doing this thing that you love, and it's giving you this connection to something inside of you, this spiritual connection of some type, something that moves you beyond other things that you've tried in your life. And when you take that and you pursue it, it will ultimately become your purpose, or it will lead you to your purpose. And flying led me to my purpose as an author and now as a speaker and a coach. And this is the reason why I'm speaking to you today. So that's why I'm so bullish on this, finding this greatest passion. We can have all kinds of passions, but they don't necessarily connect with us on that deeper level. And what I'm talking about is a connection with something that's just really deep, that just resonates with the core of who you are on the inside. And then you pursue that. And the only way you know that is to be doing passions, trying different passions. If you think you like something, pursue that. Be intentional about it. Because if it's something that's meant to stir something greater inside of you through the intentional pursuit of that passion, at some point, you're going to get a God wink or whatever you want to say, something that will inspire you to go, you know what? This is what I'm meant to do with the rest of my life. Or if I can do this, I can do this. And so it'll guide you there, or it'll lead you to another place. But it's really about this particular passion. And if you can have I've got tons of passions, but this one particular passion for flying was special because it got me to where I need to go. So I would tell people who are listening, if you have passions, if you feel like that maybe this is something that you're meant to do with your life, or it can have a bigger role in your life, then pursue that with passion. If it's not, then continue to love it and be passionate about it, but try another thing, pick up something else, pursue that, and just be intentional about it.
Well, like I had a dream a year and a half ago, which inspired me writing a book, and now it's not published yet, but it's sort of out for review, getting reviewers. Maybe that was a God moment, because it's sort of like the fourth book that I've written, but I had this really powerful dream that I woke up and I felt like I'm going to write this book. Is that sort of a God moment, a wink?
Oh, that certainly could be. Yeah. I mean, that's there's no doubt. It's interesting because it sounds like to me that this is something you're passionate about, and in terms of writing, because if you've done that many books, then obviously it's something you love. Um, for me to answer that in terms of it being your greatest passion, I don't know, because only you can know at what level that stirs your interest, and if it has something that, see, this is the thing about a purpose. You know, we the most important question that we need to ask ourselves, which most of us are afraid to ask, is, why am I here? And so we don't want to answer that question because, we have these lives that are basically programmed by our parents and society, and we go through the world. It's interesting. Aristotle said, give me a child until he is 7 and I will show you the man. So what happens is we have to be able to, as Blaise Pascal said, all men's miseries derive from not being able to sit in a quiet room alone. We need to be able to be alone with our thoughts. We need to ask the big questions. We need to ask, why am I here? And then we need to explore that and then wait for the answer, because the answer will come in the form of some aha moment or God wink or something like that. But we need to be patient. We need to be listening, but we need to be questioning, because God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, Eckhart Tolle calls it being in the power of now, you will get that answer and it will guide you in the direction you need to go. But you need to be still and you need to ask the question. But we so many times we're afraid to do that. So I can't answer whether that's, a God wink for you, or some indication of, your passion. And it's not my place to say that, because it has to be something that resonates with you, on an almost spiritual level, on in the core of who you are at your being. But you'll know by the way that makes you feel whether or not that's your purpose, because it really is an elevated feeling in you that, this is what I'm meant to do with my life and this is how I'm going to contribute to the world. Now obviously you're writing books, you're making contributions to the world, you're making the world a better place, and that's wonderful. But only you can know if that particular thing rises to the level where it connects with you on more of a spiritual level.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, you can just have these moments in anywhere at any time, even if you're not looking for it. But is it good if a person wants it to get into things like pray where you asking for it or meditate where you're listening? Do you place a lot of importance on prayer and meditation to find these answers?
Oh, oh, absolutely. I mean, it's key for me. And as a matter of fact, it's interesting because, there's this, first of all, I spend a lot of time, I invest a lot of time in myself in terms of personal development. So I do a lot of reading, I do morning and evening routines, all these things. So I'm very focused on being the best person I can possibly be and helping serve as many people as I can. But what I will tell you is, and happens all the time, it happened this morning at 2:30 in the morning. If I have an issue with something, or I have a concern or a question, or I need some guidance or whatever it is, before I go to bed, I will ask for the answers that I need. And invariably, I always get those answers. Now, it might not be that night, but I get the answers because I always seek counsel from the universe or God when I have situations where I need guidance. And this morning, and here's the thing about the beauty of nighttime is, because when you put that out there, your brain continues to work on it while you're asleep. And then if you're alert, most of the time, there's like this magical time of the night or early morning between like 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. where you're likely to get those kinds of messages. And so what happened today is at 2:30 this morning, I needed a strategy for pursuing something that I wanted to do. And at 2:30 this morning, I got the answer. I got up and I got my notebook out and I wrote it down and I went back to bed. So that's the other key about it too, Jay, is that, ask for those answers, be still, be listening for them, meditate if you want, pray on it, whatever you want to do, put yourself in a quiet position where you can be patient and wait for the answers to come. And then when the answers come, express your gratitude for those. Be aware that you've gotten the answer that you need and then act on that information. Because what happens is, so many of us, we get that God wink or that aha moment or what have you, and then we lay in bed. We say, I'll think about it tomorrow morning. I won't get up and write it down and what have you, and it's gone by the time that you wake up the next morning. It's very important when you get it, when you get a message from the universe, from God, from yourself, whatever, that you document that somewhere so that it's there when you wake up and then you can build on it. But absolutely, I always rely on God, the universe, what have you, spirit, to guide me on the big questions in life.
Yeah, I thought I heard Dwayne Dyer talking one time about getting insights at 3:30 in the morning. There's one of his lectures where he was talking about that.
Yeah, I remember actually him saying that. Wayne Dyer is one of my favorite authors. I've got all of it. I think I've got all of his books. But there is this magical time, but it really is, we have to practice being still. And maybe you appreciate this, what I'm saying, our brains are constantly moving unless we get to the point where we can kind of be patient and relax and breathe and just let answers come to us. And so, through the work with personal development and what have you, you can get to the point where you can still your mind and open up a space where the answers can come to you.
Well, sometimes does the answers come in a very subtle way? It's not always like hitting you over the head, but maybe it could be something you read and there's a little idea there, and that's what you needed to see.
Oh yeah, I think it's probably more often than not subtle. It's not hit you on the head type of things. But the key is to be aware. See, to not think that it was a coincidence or whatever. And you've heard this too if you've listened to Wayne Dyer and other people. A book will fall off the shelf, or someone will recommend a book to you, or you'll meet somebody who just out of the blue has a connection or whatever. The universe has a plan, and everything fits together. Nothing is coincidental. Nothing is by accident. And what we need to do is appreciate the fact that we get messages all the time. We get signs all the time, but we're not aware of them because we're too busy focusing on other things. When we put it out into the universe that we want an answer on something, we need to have the presence of mind to be aware that that answer could come in any form. And then once we get the answer, connect and go, okay, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to do. And then pursue it.
So, like in terms of grace, is that sort of helping people find their passion and intent? And in so doing, it helps to build up your own work, your own purpose.
Well, grace is, as I mentioned, the three things about grace is love for yourself and others, humility equal to your blessings, and generosity in the offering of your time, talents, and network. And yeah, the reason, grace obviously is loving other people as you love yourself. And, the success you have, you need to be humble to the level of the success you have. So if you're super successful, you need to be super humble. But that generosity part, sharing your time, talents, and network with others is absolutely essential to have grace, because grace is about offering other people grace. And there's nothing better than that, than helping people elevate their lives than showing them grace.
So, in terms of like helping other people when they come in, do you have a lot of people that come into you that are totally broken and don't have any direction of where they need to go, and they're sort of seeking your help to just basically tell them what to do?
I don't tend to work with people in that space because I'm not what you would say a life coach. My thing is that I work with people who are motivated to change, motivated to find their purpose in life. And so, I've done a lot of coaching with people in the past. And for me, in order for me to use my gifts and to express my gifts, I need to be working with people who I feel like are part of the same tribe as me. There's in my early coaching days when when I would take any client on just to earn money and build my practice, it became frustrating because I was dealing with folks that just had the garden variety, problems and challenges. And I'm absolutely happy to do that, to sit with somebody and just help them on a non-professional level, not, just to lift their spirits and what have you. But in the terms of my work, I tend to try to find people who are motivated. I mean, really motivated for change. And so the thing with a purpose is folks there's so many challenges in the world and so much hard stuff. And listen, in the last 8 years, I've had both of my parents suffer traumatic deaths. My dad was starved to death in the hospital. My mom died in my arms unexpectedly. I had my wife. She took a different path in our marriage, and I had to end that. So I've dealt with a lot of things myself. So I have those resources and those tools and the resiliency and the knowledge and all of the personal development stuff that you need to help somebody. So if I have a friend or I run into somebody and they're struggling, I can sit there and help them for sure. But just on a professional level, I really like to focus on the folks who are motivated to elevate themselves to a higher level and find what it is they're meant to do with their lives. And Jay, to be honest with you, I get excited about people who are, in their 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond. That's kind of, I like to work with motivated middle agers. I like to work with people um, who maybe they have a purpose, but they don't know if they can do it because of maybe they're too old or they think they're too old or what have you, or, just to kind of give them a little bit of a boost to get them over whatever it is because look, I found my purpose at 46 and I'm 58 and I'm still, I'm 58. I've got a bodybuilding competition in 2.5 weeks. I'm out there speaking and writing and coaching and doing stuff. And so I like to help people, of all ages, but I really love to get those people like in their 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond who just, they have a dream, they have a spark, they really want to do something and they just haven't found the answer. And so I want to be able to step in and give them answers.
So, like, if someone comes to you and they're motivated, what is like the program you would sort of start them with? You start them with like, do this for the first week, certain activities. How do you set people up in a certain direction? What do you tell them to do?
Well, it's interesting because, we have to assess where somebody's starting from. And if someone has the motivation to change, that's really all I need to get started. And so what I say is that most of the folks that I work with are starting at a certain level where I need to be able to build them up a little bit to get them to where they can pursue their purpose. I mean, these are folks that, who are not comfortable being where they are. They want, if they feel like their lives, what they're doing doesn't matter and they want to matter. They want to do something important with their lives. And so they already have that little bit of a spark to get going. So what I do with them is that, over time, we work on the passion, we work on identifying the passion, and then we work through the energies to make sure all four energies are aligned. Because what I can tell you in my experience is that with passion, intention, gratitude, and grace, when those are aligned, you have the absolute best chance to live your purpose in life. And if they're misaligned, for example, when I was going through some of my hard stuff with my parents dying and the situation with my wife, those energies weren't aligned, and so I still had the passion, but I lost the intention because I was so distracted by the pain and the grief and stuff like that. So I had to get back to the place where I could bring my intention back up with the other three energies because I still had gratitude, I still had passion, I still had grace, but I didn't have the intention. So when I was aware of that, then I had to bring that up. So when I work with people, what I do is I want to make sure we get all the energies aligned. I want to make sure that this person, if they don't know what their passion is, I want to put them out to start exploring, to figuring that out, what that is. So I work with them to help them identify what that passion is. And then we go from there. But the point is that I still have to be able to build people up to get them to the point where they believe that they can do it. And so that's where the coaching really comes from. It's just me working with people who I believe are primed and ready to make the move to get them to where they need to be so that they can actually go out and do this work on their own.
And in terms of grace, or not grace, in terms of gratitude, how important is gratitude? Because it would seem like gratitude helps you to be happy, helps you to be less depressed, but is it a motivator for the other things? Because obviously, if you're complaining all the time, you're likely to turn away from your passion. So, how important is gratitude, in your opinion, in the equation?
Well, it doesn't work without gratitude. And you kind of hit on that yourself, Jay, that, gratitude is important in everything. Gratitude is like, even if I'm not pursuing my purpose, I'm grateful because when you're grateful, through you call it law of attraction, quantum physics, whatever you want to call this, like energies are attracted to each other. The law of attraction is that which is likened to itself is drawn. When you're grateful, you find more things to be grateful for. You build up a reservoir of gratitude, and all of a sudden you attract other things to be grateful for. So, setting the principle aside, gratitude in and of itself is essential for living a well balanced, a meaningful, a passionate life. You got to have gratitude. Every time when I go to bed at night, I've got dozens of things that I'm expressing my gratitude for to put me in a good space for when I go to bed. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I express my gratitude. So, gratitude is a mindset, and gratitude is something that we all need more of. And it is an essential part of this principle and just life in general.
So, like, if you find yourself complaining, do you try to, if consciously flip it and find things to be grateful in it, or change your focus in some way to be more grateful?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that question because there's Dr. Benjamin Hardy and his co-author Dan Sullivan wrote a book called The Gap and the Gain. And in the book, there's this diagram of the gap and the gain. And what happens is that if you talk about somebody who is upset, that maybe things aren't going right, what have you, then they're focused on what hasn't gone right in their life. And so that's causing all this negativity, um, you know, and all of this issues with the things that aren't working out. That's called being in the gap. When you're in the gain, the concept is you measure progress backwards. So you don't look at where I'm at and where I wish I was, or where I wish I was with this person. You look at where I am now and you measure backwards to where I was before. And you see the progress that you made from where you were to where you are. And that gives you the energy to move forward with your life. So we sit here and you know, people get upset and they get worried, they get fearful and what have you, because they're always looking at what isn't working, what went wrong, instead of looking backwards and seeing, 5 years ago, this was going on. And now actually I'm doing a lot better than I was before. And I've used the gap and the gain idea a lot of times to actually measure progress backwards, to look at where I was mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, compared to where I am now. And say, you know what? I'm doing pretty good. And when you get to that point, then you can open up a reservoir to express your gratitude for other things. So it's one of the things I work on with coaching. It's kind of a difficult thing to describe in a podcast, but I would recommend to your listeners that they pick up Dan's book, The Gap and the Gain. It's a fantastic book.
So, is energy essential to basically moving forward? Because it seems like when I feel very tired, I just don't have the proper mindset and attitude. But when I feel a sense of well-being and I feel energized, I can move forward. And it can vary within the day.
Yeah, it's interesting because some of my best creative writing is actually when I'm a little more tired. because when you're tired, it's a little bit easier or more relaxed. It's easier to get more into like a flow state where you can be creative. So, but I would say, that to focus on, first of all, rest and recovery. If you're tired, rest. Don't force yourself. Don't press yourself to find answers or do things, and don't struggle to find answers for things when you're tired. Just relax, rest, recover, and then come back strong. But give yourself a break.
What do you do in terms of rest and recover? I mean, one thing I do is meditation. What are some of the things you do to find that rest and recovery?
Well, just to be honest with you, it's I'm really good. I'm a really good napper.
Hmm.
I can do 15, 20 minute nap and I'm just all of a sudden I'm ready to roll. I don't need a long sleep or whatever. But if I have a particular, I train at 7 o'clock and I'm usually up around 4 o'clock in the morning and I train at 7. And if I have a hard training session with my coach, but I have a lot to do that day with the book or whatever, I'll lay down for 20, 30 minutes and just get a nap to rest, to recover. And then I'm good to go for the rest of the day. So, a lot of people, naps get a bad rep sometimes. I mean, people like, they think it's like, you shouldn't be napping. I always, when it comes to rest and recovery, a good nap works for me.
Oh, they use that in a lot of cultures. They have like a siesta or something. So it seems like different cultures have recognized the benefit of sort of taking a time to rest in the afternoon.
Oh, well, look in Spain. In Spain, they have siestas, right? They
Mhm.
take naps in the afternoon and then go back to work.
So, are there any projects you're working on right now? And how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in following up with you?
Yeah, just briefly, I'm working on the book on the PIGG Principle, which will be out fairly soon, and then I'm also finalizing something called a post-pandemic wellness guide to help people uh, recover from this COVID situation and kind of point their lives in a different direction. And they can reach me at my website, martinpig.com, or on Instagram at martinpig. That's where they can find me.
Okay. Well, is there any final word you'd like to leave the audience with?
Well, I would just tell people that here's the thing, you are not the victim, you are not the result of a random act of fertilization. You are here for a reason. You have a reason to be here. You're one of 8 billion people, but you're the only person in this world who can do what you do the way you do it. Your gifts are unique. Scientists estimate you had a 1 in 400 trillion odds of even being born. You're a walking, breathing miracle. Go out there, figure out why you're here, use your gifts, and live the life you're meant to live.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jay. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.